Story time. Welcome, excuse me. welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Happy Friday, you guys. Happy Friday. I am very happy to be here. Happy to see you. Let's see. Queen of the South. Wait, first let's start off. Zelda, of course, is here at the top of the heap. The Trump Reapers, Watcher Soko, Valerie G. The Trump Reaper, Samantha Hawkins, Wifey is here. Lucy L. And Cindy C, Lulu Girl, Tracy M, Queen of the South, Mama AG, Bernadette H, Annie, Phyllis Harrison, the ABX Girl. Welcome, you guys. Welcome. All right, so it is Friday. I do have a special surprise for those of you who decided to show up a little early. I have a surprise for you today. A surprise reveal. And I think you will enjoy it. But first, let's do the stories of the day.
Stories of the day.
Oh, not that one. Let's see. Let's start there. I am very excited about the surprise, by the way, you guys. But first, so the title of today's show is Chicken Trump Extreme Supreme Court. The first one, the first topic is, we are less than a week away from the first presidential debate of 2024 between President Biden and President Trump. But the major question is, will it even happen? Will it happen because one of the contestants is frightened? I'll let you guess which one is frightened. The Supreme Court issued another verdict today and is just doling these things out as slowly as molasses drips. And there is definitely a methodology to their madness. And I think that methodology is MAGA. Last but not least, there was yet another mass shooting today. My thoughts and prayers go out to you if you are affected by this one. There were 9 people, 2 killed at a grocery store in Arkansas. So to the families of the victims there, my thoughts and prayers go out to you. And last but not least, if this is your first time at Storytime, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. It should be in your lower right-hand corner of your screen. And also make sure you hit the like button as well. Looks like a thumbs up, like my thumb and fist right there. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get this thing started. So a few weeks ago, you may recall, I reported that we found a kitten in our yard. And this kitten was tiny as hell. So small. he just fit into one of my hands. We named him Sunny because our dog, her name is Rainy. And without further ado, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you. Wait, let's make this bigger here. Sonny. There he is. Look, look, there's my peeps right there. Let's see if you can hear him purring. He's always purring. Look how cute he is. He's so good. Last night we had a bit of a we had a fright. It was late last night too. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. Uh, and he's staying in our son's room. And we heard a frightful meow, like if you've ever heard cats like screwing at night in the alleyway, it sounded like that, but I knew it wasn't that sound. And I go inside, and he's got his one of his arms mangled, like tangled up inside our son's like uh, car driving video game thing. And here, just pass him back to wifey. um, yeah, and he's screaming meow, meow, and I didn't know what to do. So so wifey is holding, she's holding him, and I'm like lifting up the car thing. And when I tried to push his arm out, like it wasn't sliding out; it was wedged in there. Oh my god. And then he twisted his body in a different angle, then we were able to get it out. Man, oh man. Like I've been frightened before, but this thing, I mean, phew. Anyway, he's fine. He's fine. He is adorable. He's not limping or anything. He was limping initially, and I guess that's because he really had that arm twisted in there. But he's cute, cute, cute. Uh, Lulu girl thinks kitten is a Maine coon with those giant ears. Oh, interesting. We'll have to wait and see. He is heavier than he was just 2 weeks ago. He's eating like a champ. He's eating a good amount. So I will let you know as soon as I find out. Excuse me. Trump Reaper says cat screwing sounds are a bit too human sometimes. uh, um, And Candace GT says, hello and happy Friday from Cape Cod. Well, hello back to you, Candace GT. Glad to have you here. Okay. And, I'm going to show you my psychedelic Spidey shirt there. This was it's not psychedelic, it's just it's just the streaming application. Was a gift for Father's Day. So those of you who celebrated Father's Day this past Sunday, and mind you, it's not just men that celebrate Father's Day. Fun fact, it's not just men. There are a lot of women out there who unfortunately are forced into the role of being two parents. And that means they have to be a mom and a dad, to their kids. So those of you who celebrated Father's Day, or who have hubbies or significant others who were celebrating Father's Day, happy belated Father's Day to you guys as well. And let's see. Let's get back to this thing here. Yeah, Sonny's adorable. He's adorable. And the Defiant podcast, we had our third episode this past yesterday. Kenny and I had a ball, and it will be devastating. I think we spend a good amount of time talking about the debate, which might not even happen next week. But we did introduce a new theme song for our segment. What the hell is the name of that segment? It's I'm old enough to remember. I'm old enough to remember when I forgot the name of that segment. Uh, let's see. In fact, let me see if I can add that theme song to this here. Let's see. I'm not going to take too much time, but I think I got this. Episode 2, old enough, half baked. It's processing. Okay, but if you have not seen that episode, that's fine. It's available on the Really American YouTube channel. Make sure you check it out. Um, oh, here we go. Here we go. Let's see if you guys can hear this. I'm old enough to remember. Yeah, so that's fun. Excuse me, that's fun. Make sure you check it out. So speaking of fun, my mom used to watch a show. My mom, God rest her soul, used to watch a show called Doctor Who. She was a big science fiction fan, and Doctor Who is basically a dude. Sometimes, most of the time, it's a dude. I believe at least once it's been a woman played Doctor Who. But Doctor Who is an individual who flies through time and space in a phone booth. But this phone booth is a time travel device. And it's pretty cool, actually. Now, I never in all these decades that have gone by since my mom was watching this religiously, uh, I never bothered to watch it. I didn't have any interest in it. And I do like science fiction. I just never, it never appealed to me at all. Oh, Phyllis says the recent Doctor Who was female. That makes sense. So fast forward to like a few weeks ago, and then I saw promos for the new Doctor Who. And I saw it's a brother, right? And I at first I thought I was like, it's a little bit gimmicky. But when I watched these trailers, there was something, I don't know, something about his energy that said, let me check this show out. Right? He had like a very positive, upbeat kind of energy, and I was feeling that. And I was also feeling the fact that, yeah, that true also that he's a brother, I guess I kind of underestimated the need to see myself reflected in these shows, because honestly, for a long time now, it's not like it's the 70s and early 80s when the only times you would see black people were when we were being depicted as drug dealers or gangbangers or pimps. There was a lot of black pimps back then. And since then, we've been depicted as doctors and lawyers and professionals and even presidents. A lot of shows we've been depicted as presidents. So this was just about seeing what this brother brings to this science fiction show. And I love it. I absolutely love it. He has a sidekick, and her name is Ruby Sunday, and she is delightful as well. Absolutely delightful. There's one episode where they meet the Beatles. They go back to the Beatles, and the villain from that episode was hilarious, was just over the top, just absolutely hilarious. So I highly recommend this show, Doctor Who. And then when I tweeted about it, people were recommending that I check out these other episodes that they considered like, to be, I think one was called Blink. They said I have to check out now. Um, Wilbur McCarthy says his original account at Dog Lover 1962 was suspended. Now only have less than 200 followers on my Wilbur at corrupt GOP 609. So, guys, make sure you find Wilbur McCarthy at his backup account. It's really frustrating to see how often Elon is silencing um, our accounts here. 609. Corrupt GOP 609. Wilbur, I'm not finding that, buddy. I am not finding Wilbur at corrupt GOP 609. I'm gonna make sure I look for that again later on, buddy. But that's frustrating. Excuse me. Next up, there's another show on Netflix called Your Honor, and it is starring Bryan Cranston of Breaking Bad fame. And ironically enough, this show, Your Honor, is kind of like Breaking Bad in the judicial system. He plays a judge, and in the beginning, he's a judge who is of high moral upstanding. He actually demonstrates that he cares about he wants to make sure that defendants aren't railroaded by corrupt cops, and that's cool. And then it shows you that his son is involved in some kind of car accident, and his first instinct is correct. He says, let's go. You and I will go down to the police department together, and we'll explain. His son is an asthmatic, and he was having an asthma attack, and he got distracted looking for his inhaler, and that's when he accidentally hit somebody who was riding a motorcycle. Unfortunately, the person that he hit was driving a motorcycle was the son of the city's most notorious gangster, Jimmy Baxter. And that's the guy who's on the screen right there. And so as soon as he sees this Baxter guy down at the precinct, he does an immediate about face, goes outside and tells his son, change of plans. And so it was an interesting show, frustrating because his son is really, in my opinion, is obnoxious and stupid. It had its moments. It's Bryan Cranston. He's going to deliver, high octane drama, but it's just so hard to watch at times because the writers, anytime I'm watching a show and people make the dumbest decision, I'm like, wifey and I look at each other like, those fucking writers, man. They're taking the easy way out. They're taking a back door and they're making things unnecessarily complicated. Like any person with common sense would not do that in that situation. So whenever you're watching a show or a movie and people are doing some dumbass shit, it's the writers. I blame them. And the boys, I've probably spoken about this show before, but I have to talk about it again. It's in its fourth season. I'm a big fan of the boys. I started watching the boys because I was reading the graphic novel, The Boys, which was done by an artist named Garth Ennis. And you may or may not be familiar with the guy on the left and the right in this picture here. He's a character named Homelander. And Homelander has been used in meme after meme after meme online. Usually you'll see a meme of him watching a movie, and you'll see his face, kind of change very slightly. A lot of right wingers like to use Homelander as a meme, and they didn't realize they hadn't realized until this season that Homelander was the asshole. Homelander was the bad guy. And I guess the writers weren't over the top, in your face about it enough to the point where they're like, "Oh, he's a bad guy." So now they're all up in arms and they're kind of pissed off because the writers have introduced a black woman as the smartest person on earth. It's interesting. And she works with Homelander. And she's the only person who will not take a second who will not allow herself to be spoken to any old kind of way by Homelander. And she's basically now calling the shots on the team. So they hate that. Homelander is a little bit Trumpy, I guess, in that he's insecure, he's neurotic, he's a mess. But that's where the comparisons end. He's, Trump is not, um, he's not an alpha male at all. He's a shithead. The woman on the far right of the screen, her name is Firecracker. And if I had to compare her to anyone, she's like an amalgamation of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert, probably. But the show is very blatant. It's become obviously blatant now that they are basically tagging MAGA in this show. It's very fun. It's very interesting. If you can't get past the gore, there's some very, very, very gory, very violent scenes in this movie. You can't get past that, you can't watch this show. But if you can, it's fun as hell. And even as I watch the unraveling of Homelander, he's still a very entertaining character. Last but not least, it is on Amazon, Tracy M. Yes. Last but not least, there's a new movie, on Netflix called Trigger Warning, starring Jessica Alba. I haven't watched it yet, but this is my kind of show. She is supposed to be like an ex special forces person who, I guess, she was out of the game and now she's pulled back into the game. Sign me up. I'm there. I'm in there. There she is, wielding wielding a knife with some kind of menace. So, she looks like she can handle herself. They did a good job with J-Lo being an action person. So, yeah, I'll check it out. Let's talk about fundraising, right? So I'm old enough to remember when President Biden had a serious fundraising edge on Donald Trump. Unmistakable. And definitely helped out by one major fundraising night. You guys might remember. Zelda, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for that kind donation. I appreciate you very much so. And let's see. Okay. If I see somebody posting Trump 2024, no questions asked, you just bye-bye. I don't have time for your bullshit, frankly. Don't have time for it. And I will discuss not having time for that bullshit a little later on. But thank you, Zelda. So that was back in February. Back in February, President Biden had a distinct fundraising advantage over Donald Trump. Now, fast forward to today, where we've been seeing reports that Donald Trump has now passed Joe Biden on the fundraising. These were the fundraising totals from last month, where Donald Trump had $141 million to President Biden's $85 million. With that said, President Biden still has more cash on hand than Donald Trump does. But, that it also does mean that Trump is catching up. And what you don't want is for Donald Trump to pass him, because naturally, sad to say that, running for office here, it involves having money, and not just money, but like obscene amounts of money. Like it makes me sick to think about the amount of money being spent on political campaigns. Like on my Defiant podcast that just streamed yesterday, I was talking about an old movie from the 80s starring Richard Pryor. It was called Brewsters Millions. And in Brewsters Millions, Richard Pryor had to spend $30 million within a 30-day period of time. And the catch was that he could not acquire, he could not have anything of any assets, anything of value at the end of 30 days. And if he was able to do that, then he would earn a $300 million jackpot, but he had to spend $30 million. So the 30th day was fast approaching, and he still had way too much money on hand. He was doing things like he would spend $1 million on a collectible stamp, which is an asset. It's valuable. And then he used that stamp to mail a postcard. And so that was very clever. He just burned $1 million just like that. You know. So he decided to start a political campaign for mayor. And in this campaign, he said, none of the above. That was his slogan. Like, so he made it clear that he did not want to be elected, because if he was elected, that position comes, that job of mayor comes with a salary, and that salary is worth something. Uh, so anyway, long story short, he was able to spend obscene amounts of money that didn't amount to anything, that just was burning money. And that's what these political campaigns are. They are just burning money. And where people are starving and people need housing and people need this and people need that, it's just, it's ugly. It's disgusting to think that people can spend upwards of $1 billion. It's likely that both campaigns will probably end up spending a combined total upwards of $2 billion. Think about that. So Joe Biden recently landed a billionaire supporter, Michael Bloomberg. He's the former mayor of New York. But Donald Trump also landed a billionaire backer, some guy named Tim Melon. Apparently, nobody has seen what he looks like. So there's like a silhouette there of Tim Melon, who, hey, Sherry Scary, I see you there, my friend. Um, and thank you, your mom. We do need to overturn Citizens United. Absolutely. Thank you for the perfectly timed reminder there. So Tim Melon is in for a cool $50 million. And that, in part, is one of the reasons why Donald Trump has been able to vault himself past Joe Biden in May fundraising, and why he's making up ground so quickly. It is because these billionaires are lining up to support Donald Trump. And if you look at this, we've got 47 billion, 43 billion. That's right there. That's $90 billion from two guys. Two guys, $90 billion. 34 billion from Sheldon Adelson's widow. There's another 17 billion, 8 billion, 7 billion. And then the other 50 billion right there. Oh, hang on a second. Excuse me. They're not donating that much, but these are the billionaires. Excuse me. These are all the billionaires that are lining up to support Donald Trump. And the reason they're lining up is because of statements like this from President Biden. No billionaire should pay a lower federal tax rate than a teacher, nurse, or sanitation worker. President Joe Biden said that. He's put a bullseye on the billionaires, saying it's time for you guys to pay your fair share. And when you're the billionaires, you can afford to pay to shut people up. And that's what they're trying to do. And I wanted to share with you a screenshot of an article here from the Washington Post. It says studies have found that corporate profits account for more than 50% of our current inflation. Whenever you see the word inflation, just replace that with corporate greed, because that's what's happening. Egg and meat producers, dominated by a handful of multi-billion-dollar companies, have engaged in or are alleged to have engaged in price fixing, further exacerbating any external issues. And who is preventing us from passing anti-price gouging legislation? Republicans. And who is behind the efforts to continue to allow corporations to gouge the hell out of prices, it's Republicans. But we also have a significant billionaire who is stepped into the fray to back President Biden, and she wrote, "Women deserve a leader who cares about the issues they face and is committed to protecting their safety, their health, their economic power, their reproductive rights, and their ability to freely and fully participate in a functioning democracy. In this election, the contrast couldn't be greater and the stakes couldn't be higher. I will be voting for President Biden, Melinda French Gates." And Melinda Gates, by the way, she is filthy, filthy rich. She's not just casually, a little bit rich. She's like, she is piss on you rich. She could buy and sell Donald Trump so many times over. It's not even funny. But she has chosen to use her wealth. She's a billionaire that is just she can't give this money away fast enough. She is trying to find as many different um charities as she possibly can just to give this money away. And it's amazing what she's doing. There's a show on Apple TV called Loot, starring Maya Rudolph, and I think she may be she that's what she this show might be inspired by Melinda Gates, because Maya Rudolph's character used to be married to a filthy rich billionaire who was cheating on her, and then bada bing, bada boom, they got a divorce, and she got half of his shit. Half. And she is in the process of trying to give away most, if not all, of her billions of dollars. Indeed. So, you guys by now, I'm sure, have heard the have heard the saying that even a blind squirrel can find a nut. And that was the case with the major story for today. In an 8-1 ruling, the Supreme Court upheld uh, domestic violence gun restrictions that say that domestic abusers cannot own a firearm. So this was a bit of good news in a desert of bad news from the Supreme Court. This Supreme Court, is highly disappointing. I know we've got some good ones there. Ketanji Brown Jackson, Atlanta Kagan, and Justice Sonia Sotomayor. They are the only good ones on the court. And it used to be that Justice Roberts was a sometimey guy. You could count on him some of the times being, that common sense swing vote. He used to be a swing vote. Now, more often than not, it seems like, his hands are tied. But this was his decision, and it's a good one. It's a good one. Domestic abusers should not have access to firearms because they've already demonstrated that they will abuse the people closest to them. And more often than not, that creates the possibility that their spouse will not survive that relationship. So that's a good thing, because we still live in a country where mass shootings are more common than they should be. Today, we had another mass shooting in Arkansas, where 9 people were shot, 2 are dead. Excuse me. I believe the shooter was shot by authorities, is in custody. I think he's being treated for his wounds. That's the most I can tell you about that shooting. I don't have any other details. It was at a place called Mad Butcher. I'm old enough to remember when we didn't have mass shootings, every week or even every month. Mass shootings was not a thing of my childhood. I don't remember there being mass shooting epidemic growing up. I don't remember that at all. I don't remember thinking that, if I go out to the grocery store, this could be my last time going to the grocery store, But that is a reality that people have to consider in these United States. And a recent Supreme Court ruling um, permitted bump stocks to to stay out there, to be legal. And what bump stocks do is that a bump stock turns a semi-automatic weapon into a machine gun that can fire 800 rounds per minute. Who the fuck needs to fire that many bullets who is not on a war on the battleground? Who's not, at war with, a foreign nation? Who needs to shoot that many bullets? Using that to shoot deer? Squirrels? Come on. It's ludicrous. So, yeah, those thoughts and prayers, they aren't working. They aren't working. It is the guns. It is the guns. We have a sick love affair with automatic weapons. Was it an AR-15 Trump Reaper? I don't know. Actually, don't know. I think it usually is the case with these mass shootings because those things they don't fire 800 rounds a minute, but I think you still get 100 rounds per minute with an AR-15. So I don't know. And here's a graphic up here that says justice can wait. Trump is not immune. So here's another instance where this Supreme Court is failing us miserably. The Supreme Court got this case, presidential immunity, way back in February or March. They could have decided on this on the spot. Because the premise that a president with the most awesome powers on the planet could walk into office and become even more powerful by putting themselves above the law, by making themselves immune to prosecution for anything, is absurd. The key argument was, can the president order order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate his or her political opponent and not face prosecution for it? And Supreme Court is like, oh, well, that depends. Really? Come on. So the Supreme Court, they could have acted quickly on this. They did act quickly previously when the topic was, can a president be taken off the ballot based on, remember, I think it was Colorado said that he, because of his involvement in the insurrection, he should not be on the ballot. And the Supreme Court was quick. They were quick. They were like, oh, no. He stays on the ballot. That was an almost immediate resolution. But this one, presidential immunity, we're still waiting. It's June 21st. Today is June 21st, and we still don't have an answer to this. So they have, in essence, made him immune, at least for the year of 2024. They've pretty much guaranteed that he will not be prosecuted in this calendar year, or at very least, before the election for the January 6th case, and also possibly for the classified documents case. And that's a goddamn shame, because those are two cases that the American people absolutely deserve, we 100% deserve to be fully informed consumers, right? They often say that an informed consumer is the best consumer. Inform us. Tell us exactly what the fuck this motherfucker did on January 6th. Tell us. Tell the whole public, not just those of us who are news junkies who stay plugged into MSNBC or CNN. Tell everybody. Tell those people who are like, I don't have time for politics. Tell those people, because those people are going to be, some of them are going to be voting on November 5th. It is a crime that these cases are not being seen by the American public. Part of the reason is because we've never faced this level of corruption before. That level of corruption has bled into our Supreme Court. It has bled into our lower federal courts, as in Eileen Cannon. Eileen Cannon is a complete dope, is an embarrassment as a judge. She should have, there's got to be some kind of mechanism. If there isn't now, there should be. There absolutely should be. It shouldn't be one of these things where, whew, well, we made it out of that one and we don't go back and address, that issue. Like, for instance, going forward, there ought to be a rule that a person convicted of a felony cannot run for office. So apparently there's no rule preventing that. There should be. That's where precedents come from, Well, this thing never happened before, so we don't know how to deal with it. Now it's happened. So fucking do something about it and prevent this shit from happening again, because it's ridiculous. We are a joke to the rest of the world that this guy, convicted of 34 felonies, is still a legitimate contender, a legitimate candidate for one of the major political parties in our country. That is a joke. It's an embarrassment. Oh, this is lawfare. No, it's fucking accountability. He broke the law. Just because it's a white-collar crime, just because it's not murder or rape, excuse me, he was already found liable for adjudicated rape or sexual assault. Call it what you will. A sexual assault is not better. The fact that he used his finger instead of his penis to penetrate a woman against her will, that distinction does not make it better. You guys are defending a fucking broken, disgraceful embarrassment. And why? You have plenty of other people. I don't care for any of them, but you have a Nikki Haley, can't stand her, but she's there. She got a not insignificant number of people to step up and say, yeah, I'll vote for her. Even after she pulled out of the race, they were like, yeah, we'll vote for her. You have her. You have Mr. Roboto, Ron DeSantis. You have him. He was viable somewhat until he self-destructed. You have people. You even have that annoying Vivek Ramaswamy. If that's the way you want to go for another snake oil salesman, but he, at least he's not a convicted felon. It feels like MAGA has selected this horrible human being as just a great big giant middle finger to the rest of us. For what? Who knows? There's been a lot of debate about, we have to listen. We have to listen to them because, these are the people. These are the people from flyover states, from middle America. These are the people that feel like they've been left behind and they've been left out of conversations. Yeah, we've been fucking listening to them. Since 2016, since the first time they put this jackass in office, we had no choice to listen to them. And what are they doing? They're using their voice to say, "Oh, fuck your feelings." you know, your feelings don't matter. Let's get these illegals out of here. That's what they're using their voice to. They're using their voice to say how much they hate people who are not like them. That they hate trans people. When they're not busy hating undocumented immigrants, they're busy hating trans people or black people. It's always in vogue to hate black people, as we saw when President Obama woke them the fuck up, and they're like, "Hey, wait, what? A black president? How dare you? How dare you?" I think that electing President Obama was probably the that was probably the thing that got them all riled up. They're like, "No, never again." that was the last straw. But now it seems like they are. It's like if we were driving somewhere and they were at the steering wheel. Why we let them drive, I'll never know. But they're driving. We're in the back seat. And it's clear that we're lost. It's absolutely clear. We've been driving around for hours and we've passed by that same fucking gas station 7 times and we're not any closer to getting back on track. And they are just like, now they're just determined. Yeah, I would never admit that I was wrong. They won't admit. That's not even a good analogy, but it's kind of close. It just feels like they chose the worst possible person because it makes us mad. And somehow making us mad is the answer. It's not, you should be choosing a president who can get things done, who has experience, who doesn't mind working across the aisle, who is mature, who is responsible, who is compassionate. Compassion, that's compassion, I think is an underrated attribute. Compassion is very important. That's what I want in a leader. I don't want Sure, I want somebody who I think, can keep us safe, but I think there's a lot too much there's way too much fear mongering, right? There's this tendency to say, "Oh, there's threats around every corner." They want us to think that somebody is sneaking or has already snuck in through our south border to initiate some kind of terrorist attack. That's that fear mongering thing. If they're not fear mongering us about 17 million people sneaking in our southern border and bringing fentanyl and bringing drugs and crime and they're rapists, that whole fear mongering thing. If they're not doing that, they're fear mongering about the terrorist attack. They're fear mongering about trans people, men in dresses, uh, molesting our daughters in bathrooms. It's all that. It's all that constant fear mongering. I've never seen people so frightened of their own goddamn shadows who like to project this, I'm rugged, I'm badass. Look at my Ford F-50, F-150, and my and my AR-15 across my chest, But you're a scared little bitch, really, because I don't walk around with a gun. You know, I'm not afraid to walk to the grocery store. I saw Maria Bartiromo saying that she's afraid to walk around outside. Why? It's ridiculous. Nobody else is. Shit. I lived New York was a pretty grimy place in the New York City. Was grimy in like the late 70s, early to mid 80s. It was grimy. I mean, like Times Square was disgusting. Times Square, it was there was nothing. There were like 10 different movie theaters that were like triple X rated. And I went into, when I was a teenager, you could get away with a whole lot of shit. I walked into some of those X rated theaters and they were gross. Yeah, as a teenager. When I was 15, I probably looked 13. Don't ask me how I got into one of those theaters, but I did. And the floor was sticky, and there were guys in there wearing like trench coats, nasty, you know. And on every corner there were like drug dealers and prostitutes, and it was filthy and gross and disgusting. And my little, 13-year-old ass, survived that shit. I was, riding subways by myself, when New York City was seriously unsafe. That's when you could worry, you could complain about how unsafe the streets were. Or you could also look back to the time when, Amadou Diallo was shot 47 times by cops because they mistook his wallet for a fucking gun. That's how unsafe the streets were in the late 90s in New York. But now, New York City is like Disney. It's Disney. It's Disney. If you walk through Times Square, it's beautiful. It's one of my favorite parts of the city. But yeah, so I've gone way off course with what the hell I was talking about, but let's get back to let's get back to this idiot here, right? Donald Trump. So this guy, Raman Satude, recently uh, shared with the public these recordings that he made. He interviewed Donald Trump six times, uh, putting together a book about The Apprentice. And God help me, now I am curious as hell because this guy got some gold out of these interviews. One of the things he got was that Trump swears to God that Joan Rivers voted for him, but Joan Rivers died in 2014. He wasn't even thinking about running until 2015. He says that she told him she voted for him. That would have been in 2016. She'd already been dead for 2 years. This dude is completely divorced from reality. Completely. And this is one of so many different instances where what he thinks and what is reality are completely different things. This should worry every mature, responsible person in the Republican Party. It should. That you have somebody who is this extremely removed from what is real and what is not. It's crazy. They profess to know God, but they deny him by their actions. So earlier this week, the Louisiana came up with a rule saying that now the 10 Commandments have to be displayed in every classroom. Uh, that's garbage. That's such absolute garbage. Um, it's garbage because most of the people who support this rule support a person who has broken most of the 10 Commandments. I know people who are atheists, who don't believe in God at all, who unknowingly are probably adhering to most, if not all, of the 10 Commandments. And they're not even Christian. They don't even believe in religion. But they are more righteous than Donald Trump. It's bizarre. So let's fast forward to this debate. And there's a lot of people talking about the debate between President Biden and convicted felon Trump. Uh, The debate is supposed to be Thursday, June 27th. President Biden actually surprised people. Ooh, this is a good one. Tax the damn churches too. Thank you, Candace. Good one. Very good. Uh, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. President Biden surprised people by kind of throwing down the gauntlet himself early, because they don't normally have presidential debates before the nominating convention. I do not know if you're hearing that meowing. I'm not sure who that is. It's probably Kobe. Uh, but it could also be Mars. It's one of the kittens. Yeah. Love, do you not hear the kitten? Anyway, yeah, they don't normally have a presidential debate prior to the nominating convention, but this year, President Biden wants to he wants to get this show on the road now, and I don't blame him. It's tiring. It's tiresome that every goddamn commentator on the news is like, well, President Biden has to step up and show people. Why? Every goddamn time. He's already done it so many times. He continues to do it. You want him to do it again? Fine. Fine. It's not President Biden misfiring every day. You guys, there have been so many disingenuous things in the news or in social media, which we're calling cheap fakes now. These things that they show deceptively cropped video showing President Biden walking off to the side, and it looks like the way it's cropped, it looks like he's just kind of meandering, walking off by himself. Look at him like Grandpa is lost. No, he's walking over there to talk to one of the parachuters who came down, who's off screen. But these jackasses, they're trying to create a narrative that, oh, he's, fading into dementia. No, that's not it at all. Another time he was about to sit down, but then he paused because he wasn't sure if this was the part of that ceremony where you all sit down. So he paused in mid sit, which, by the way, for those of you who have tried to like not sit down but remain standing, but you're kind of in between there, that takes some core strength. You you gotta be in good shape to be able to pull that shit off, and he did it anyway. They made a big deal out of that, made it look like he was going to sit down and where there was no chair, some nonsense. So now here we are looking at this debate coming up, and most of the people I know don't think Donald Trump is even going to show. They think he's scared. He's a chicken. I hope he doesn't show. Man, I would have so much fun for weeks and weeks with chicken Trump memes. It would be delicious. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he will show up. I think he has no choice to show up now. He has to. He has made such a big deal out of President Biden. He's projected in people's minds, in his followers' minds, President Biden can't put two sentences together. President Biden can barely tie his own shoes. So now he has to backtrack. He has set the bar of expectations on President Biden so low that if Biden can string two sentences together, he's already winning. Because audience is going to be like, hey, ain't that the feller he said can't string two sentences together? Because he's already said like a paragraph. Mildred, didn't he already say two paragraphs? He did, didn't he? That's quite a bit. That fella ain't so dumb after all. Look at him. Look at him talking. Not so bad. Make a lot of sense. Yeah, he set those expectations so incredibly low. So now he is attempting to backtrack, and it's fucking hilarious. I love it. Excuse me. You can tell when Brooklyn Dad is irritated because he drops like more than 10 uh 10 F bombs. Here, let me share this with you that
So what
I saw earlier. This is great.
so what are some of your expectations for this debate? How big do you think the stakes are?
I think it's pretty big. I mean, if you are into presidential politics, this is the Super Bowl on steroids. It is a big deal. Now, I do think that Biden has a secret advantage. It's not secret, though. That is that Donald Trump has been saying for months he can't even walk or talk. There have never been expectations set as lowly as the expectations, or lower than the expectations that have been set for Biden. And in fact, even Trump realizes he's got a problem, because I think he said the other day on a podcast that Biden is a worthy debater, which of course is like, what? I thought this is the guy who can't function, who has to have, and so I do think that if Biden comes out and is aggressive, what he says is not as important as how he says it. And he's got to be a street fighter, but he's comfortable doing that. He is comfortable. He's Scrappy Joe from Scranton can come out and throw haymakers, because deep down, or maybe not so deep down, he doesn't respect Trump, and he will have no problem, I think, going after him, hammer and tongs. And that's what he's got to do.
I love it. I love it. Scrappy Joe from Scranton. 100%. That is, I agree. That is what's going to happen. Okay. I would just ask you folks, my moderators there. I believe I still have some moderators. Do me a favor and clear out the jackasses, right? I don't have time for that bullshit. These clowns. Didn't this guy sell his kids toys for crack? Yeah, okay, yeah, I did it 20 years ago. 20 years a fucking go. How do you? Because I shared it. Because I wanted to help destigmatize what recovering addicts have to go through when they are recovering. I did that. Okay. And yeah, I felt bad about it. But since then, I helped put all three of my sons through college, one of whom is a scientist, feeling pretty good about myself right now. I forgave myself for those things that I did. I'm better for having shared about that. So if you want to pick up my trash, the shit that I left by the curb, and use that as some kind of currency, you're only showing what kind of person you are. Okay? You're making yourself look like a pile of trash. I myself, I said what I said. I stand by it. Yeah, I am that guy. But I am also that guy who is standing here fighting for democracy, fighting to make sure that our country is left in better shape for our kids and our grandkids. Even yours, you jackass. Anyway, yeah, so I'm looking forward to whether or not Trump shows up. I'm looking forward to President Biden either kicking his ass or standing across from an empty chair. Because frankly, I used to worry about when Donald Trump, I used to worry about when President Biden had like a speech to give. I would hold my breath because, I'm used to that whole, Biden is a gaffe machine thing. So we used to kind of worry, is he going to say something dumb? Is he going to, we used to. I don't worry about that shit anymore. folks have already made made allowances for the fact that he does occasionally stutter. You know, he sometimes doesn't get the words out perfectly, but overall, he is connected with reality. He is not barking mad insane. He is compassionate. He is mature, and he's our president. So that's what I've said, and I ain't got nothing else to say. Except I'm looking forward to pizza and movie night. Wifey and I are probably going to watch another episode or two of Doctor Who. There's a movie that our son told us about called, I think it's called The Wrong Missy. I think I want to check that out, as well as that Jessica Alba trigger warning movie. Oh, look at this. Our new friend here, Candace, shares that her nephew, who is a bona fide genius, stutters. He's Mensa since he was 12. Those of you who don't know, Mensa is like, that's the genius like club. That's a club for geniuses, people with super high IQs. So that's very cool. Anyway, you guys, thank you for letting me share with you. Share my frustrations with you, share my my inner thoughts, all that stuff. Thank you for coming here and hanging out with me for an hour in this episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Any questions from you guys? Any questions about anything I've said, anything I haven't said? Here's a promo from our friend Watcher Soko, who says, if you're not watching Shrinking Trump on Really Americans YouTube, go check it out. I can't even tell you how many times I quote Dr. John Gardner in my daily life. I quote him. Actually, fun fact, I do talk to him a few times a week, actually. Yeah, we're on the same team. So, yeah. He is a very extremely smart, very personable, really likable guy. I love watching Shrinking Trump, and it's no mystery that it is the most popular show on the Really American YouTube channel. I don't feel bad about that. Let's see. Candace wants to know what the hell is up with the Gates investigation. So it continues. I believe it's continuing partially because some Republicans are still pissed off at Matt Gates. It's not continuing because they want to see him prosecuted. I don't think that's what's up. Yeah, I think if they wanted him prosecuted, he would have already been prosecuted. I think they're sending him a message, is what it is. They're checking him. Marie from New Jersey wants to know if I've watched Eric on Netflix yet. I have not, but it is on my list. That's the one with Benedict Cumberbatch, who I believe is looking for a lost child. I have to always, steel myself up for those because I feel like, those missing child stories, those are loaded. If you don't find the child within the first 48 or 72 hours, it's not looking good. So I don't know if I can watch that. I might have to look up I might have to cheat and look and see if the child is actually found, because if he's not found, maybe I can't watch it. Let's see. Valerie G wants to know, will you be on here during the debate? It's possible. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure Chip will be, for a fact, will be streaming. I'm not sure if I'm going to be on there or if Frank Figliuzzi or some of us will be on, definitely. But I actually do want to watch the debate, and I want to tweet about it while it's going on. So we'll see. We shall see. Oh, look at Stella Baxter giving Defiant a shout out. Thank you. Yes, make sure you please check out the Defiant podcast. Go and download. Go do me a favor. Go and download the Defiant podcast. And that will be a tremendous help to us. Thank you. It's free. It's free. Download it. Costs you no money whatsoever. All right. So with that, without further ado, you guys, I appreciate you all. I look forward to seeing you here next week. Same time, same place. I love you all. Peace.